Just go ahead and introduce the three of you with a little bit of background information, and then I'm going to hand it over to you all for the conversation. So you all, of course, are here today for a panel entitled The Ukrainian Situation, delving into the resettlement journey for Ukrainians and the role of USCRI. And we're going to be hearing from three folks today. Allison Kasch is the program coordinator at USCRI, who works to support Ukrainian refugee services in the Richmond area. Nadiia Matviienko is a senior human resources professional from Ukraine who earned her master's in psychology from Moscow State University. She moved to the US 6 months ago under Ukrainian Humanitarian Parolee Status in order to protect her family from the war. And then not on our program, but a really valuable addition to this program is Bridget Kmetz, who recently retired after 36 years as a nurse and 19 years as a family nurse practitioner. That's such a remarkable span of a career. She also retired as a brigade nurse consultant from the United States Army Reserves with numerous mobilizations and deployments. Bridget and her family decided to sponsor 2 Ukrainian families in their home and have additionally helped another 15 Ukrainians make their way to the US. So I will hand things over to the three of you. Again, if we're seeing questions in the chat, I'll jump in and try to help facilitate that, but we're so looking forward to hearing from all three of you today.
Thank you, Katie. Thanks, everyone. I'm really excited to be here, both with Nadiia and Bridget. I think that this is going to be just a really great opportunity for us to really just provide a comprehensive understanding of just the Ukrainian situation, both here in Richmond and beyond. As Katie said, I am the program coordinator for Ukrainian Refugee Services at the Richmond field office with the U.S. Committee for Refugees and Immigrants. It's a crazy long name, so we just say USCRI. So I'm going to start us off by giving a quick overview of USCRI, both about our larger organization and then also about the specific work that our office is doing. Then I'm going to hand it over to Nadiia, who will have the opportunity just to share with you guys about her experiences as a refugee. And then we'll close with hearing from Bridget, who will be able to talk about her experiences as a sponsor. And then hopefully we'll have some time at the end for a brief Q&A. So a bit about me. Again, I am a program coordinator and have been in this role for right around 6 months now. So I'm still very new to the resettlement world. And I'm very grateful for the people kind of who've been doing this work for a lot longer than I have. They've been just so helpful in helping me understand how this world works. Prior to my work with USCRI, I was an evaluation and research analyst with a local nonprofit here that specializes in youth and family services. I also had the opportunity to work for around a year in the Dominican Republic at a girls' home, and I have my master's in social work from VVCU. My passion is really about helping to create programs that are really able to support and empower the most vulnerable in our communities. So I've really found a home here at USCRI, and I'm just excited to get to be a part of this event and get to talk with you all. So as a larger agency, USCRI is an international nonprofit, and they've been around for over 100 years. So they have just a long-standing tradition of being able to support both refugees and immigrants as they navigate their world. However, our office specifically in Richmond has only been open since August. So we are very new. We currently have an office of just 4 folks. Currently it is me and a case manager, Kate. Kate has so much refugee experience. She is an invaluable member of our group. And together we serve the Ukrainian refugee community here. Our services generally fall under general case management. So that largely has to do with helping clients enroll in things like SNAP, TANF, and Medicaid. We can also help in securing employment, finding housing in school enrollments. So all of those things that just kind of help folks get settled here. We generally support our clients for around 3 months. However, we are also able to extend our services beyond that, depending on specific client needs. With the status of Ukrainian Humanitarian Parolee, or UHP, with that status still being pretty new, we found that a lot of times within, especially social services, they're not quite sure what our clients are actually eligible for. So we've had a lot of challenges, and I know that Nadiia and Bridget can both speak to this, of just helping our clients actually get all of the services that they are eligible for. So a lot of the times we are serving our clients more around 6 months instead of the expected 3 months. So we are very grateful that the funding that we have kind of allows us that flexibility. In addition to our case management services for Ukrainians, the other two staff in our office are an attorney and a legal assistant, and they are serving specifically the Afghan population. And we also received exciting news over the last week or so that our case management services will also soon be able to expand to serve the Afghan populations as well. So those services aren't up and running yet, but over the next few months we'll be expanding, and I'm just excited to be able to serve that community as well. And if you all are interested in a new job that serves the refugee population, you should connect, because we will have probably 2 or 3 positions opening. So as a whole, USCRI serves kind of the refugee community in a wide variety of ways. We have the traditional resettlement programs such as reception and placement, the matching grant, and preferred communities. And then we also have more specific child services, services for survivors of trafficking and sexual assault, as well as a residential program. So since starting in this office, I have really enjoyed the opportunity to get to collaborate with the groups in our area, such as the ones who are part of this summit. I'm excited about the opportunity to continue to kind of learn and grow and to see how we can impact our community. And that is it for me, and I'm going to pass it along to Nadiia. So take it away.
Yeah, thank you, Allison. And thank you for the introduction. I absolutely agree with the difficulties you've mentioned, which I've met as a refugee, but let me start a little bit with the story of my life and the story why I'm here and why I'm speaking today here with within this conference. Well, I was born in Moscow, and I get a bachelor degree in Russia. And then I've been hired with a huge Ukrainian company with a big salary, with a big status, to help them to build up the HR system and so on. And I've been working with them for 10 years, and I've built a brilliant career. And I've been staying in Ukraine for 15 years. I met there my husband, my daughter is Ukrainian, our 3 daughters of my husband are also Ukrainian. And well, actually, we've been feeling absolutely fine with our life in the center of Kiev, with a brilliant, carefully designed apartment in the center of Kiev, just a 15 minutes walking distance to Krещатик. It's the main street in Kiev, in Ukraine, the main street in Ukraine, I would say. And we were absolutely fine. And then the 24th of February came. For me, it was extremely difficult because I'm Russian by passport. All my family is Ukrainian, and I built my life and my career in Ukraine. And we just had to stand up and leave everything we built in one day. And I understand that my story is not the only one. You know that lots of Ukrainians lost families, houses, statuses, businesses, and had to need to start everything from zero base. But before you reach to the zero base, you have to lift yourself from the very bottom. And I appreciate a lot when we came to the United States. we had to build up everything from scratch, and just to be able to get to this zero-based level, you extremely need the help of the agencies like USCRI and others who is helping for you and for your family. As you're absolutely new to everything. You build up your life in other conditions, in other legal systems, in our taxation systems, in our rules and so on, but you have to start everything from scratch. And the most important thing I get from USCRI and the other organizations who helped, it was about this kind of orientation and being able to get this zero-base level to start moving forward. And I appreciate it a lot. The other issue, which is also very important from my experience, is the community. Well, we appeared here and we came here and we find out that there is a community of Russian-speaking population here in Richmond, in Virginia. These are Russian, Ukrainians, Belarusians, and so Uzbeks and Tajiks and so on. And all of them are united by the same language. And it also helps a lot. When you are trying to plug into the system, you have to find extremely fast the information. And community is a huge source of information. And it's really helpful. And the third thing I would also underline, which is really important when you are a refugee, when you come to a new country or to new location, these are the people themselves. I remember lots of stories, but I'll share one with you. We've been sitting with my daughter in the Panera Bread, having a lunch between her school and ice skating session. And there were a respectful age pair at the next table to us. And as my daughter is speaking French and a little bit of Spanish, we sometimes are joking and telling one to another some phrases in French. And the man asked us, "Oh, are you from France? Are you French?" And I just laughed and told, "No, we're from Ukraine." And I cannot give you this feeling. His face like changed at the same moment. His eyes became full of care and full of warmth. I don't know how to say it in English in a better way. And he just told one phrase. He told, "Oh, just for you to know, we pray for you. We pray for Ukraine." And this is also a part which is really important. When you appear in other country, after these stories, you just feel that everybody cares. It could be not so, but it really helps, and it gives you the motivation, and it gives you the strength to move forward and to start everything from this zero-base level. So these are three sources of my inspiration and of help. Afterwards, after we were plugged into the basic needs and so on, we just start asking ourselves what next. The first issue I faced with was it's very difficult to plug into the employment history here in the United States when you had a quite high level of your previous career and status and so on. It's really difficult because you're still refugee. It's still, and I understand the employer very well. Your English is not so perfect. Nobody cares that you are speaking 4 more languages, as it's not so important, because you do not know the country, the system, the laws, and so on. And if I were a human resource director here in the United States in the company, I would charge the same way. It's easier and better fit for me, the local person with the same level of education, when the stranger, when the foreigner. And so I just started not crying. I started thinking about what's next. What can I do just to implement and to use somehow the energy and the motivation to do something good. And I met a couple more Ukrainian friends here, and we just rolled out our own nonprofit organization. Yes, well, it was born 9 months after the war started. it's symbolical, I would say. And we started shaping that idea then. And yesterday we were officially registered as a nonprofit, Ukrainian Community of Virginia. And we named this baby Freedom, as it's the very strong word for us, and it's really important that it motivates to do our best. So now we are trying to fill up the gaps and to partner with the refugee resettlement agencies in terms of resettlement of Ukrainian refugees, as we try to build some kind of bridge between that services which USCRI and other agencies has, and the needs, the understanding of the needs of our Ukrainian folks. And we also, this is one of the ideas of our organization. The second one, it's really important for us as well, you know, our kids came here and they are plugged in very well to American public schools here. And in half a year, they got the English, perfect English, I would say, and we appreciate it a lot, but they are losing their language. They are forgetting their culture. They are forgetting their traditions and so on. So that's the reason we just started building it up. And the second direction of our activity is to gather our kids, together mothers and together Ukrainian community, and to have the traditional celebrations, traditional workshops, traditional crafts. And we are also thinking about the Ukrainian language school for our kids could keep it, as it's well, it's gone very fast if you are not practicing it. And we're still full of energy and full of dream to get back home one day and to follow living our new lives back in Ukraine, as it's, well, it's our home, I would say. Well, and the third main direction is about stimulating donations and about helping our civilians and militaries back in Ukraine, to those who are facing the main basic needs, being there in the front line of war and still living under these conditions. So these are the senses I find for myself, and I appreciate the way I've done before finding it, because if I didn't face myself with this fell down, I believe I didn't have this inspiration to do something good, brilliant, to help to those who are in need. So now we're building that bridge in between those who are in need, Ukrainians, and those who are ready to help here in the United States, organizations, individuals, and so on, businesses probably. That's my story.
Thanks, Nadiia. It's always great to hear from you. And I had no idea that you guys were officially a 501c. That's awesome. That's very exciting. Okay, Bridget, you're up next.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. I want to thank you all for asking me to speak, because as a sponsor, I see things from a very different view and opinion. And I think what I've experienced is important for you all to get experience with and at least know about. So let me tell you how our story began. In March, very shortly after the war began, my husband and I contacted local charities and churches and asked, what can we do to help? And really didn't find any direction whatsoever. So I contacted the consular in Washington, D.C. and spoke with her. And she said, if I wanted to host some families, which they weren't supporting yet, they didn't know how they were going to come, I could put an ad on a place called I Can Help, which is, I think it was sponsored initially by the UK, because they were already accepting refugees there and they already had a pathway for them. And then when we got the ability to do sponsorship, I had already been contacted by, I'd say, no less than 11 different families looking for a place to stay in Virginia and asking for sponsorship. And our first family was a family of 5, a mother, a father, twin 3-year-old boys, and a baby girl. And our second was just a couple. Now, unfortunately, it took forever to get the family to come, and I think it's because of all the issues involved with the concerns for trafficking of children and they didn't have a way, at least initially, to tag the children onto their passports. So we had to wait for the children to get their passports. And so that family never arrived until September. But our couple was able to come. They came the 1st of June. And as Allison knows, and thank God for Allison and Kate, because they were such a help with our second family, but the first family went through really smoothly. We got their social security numbers. I got them hooked up with the IRC. We got their driver's licenses. I didn't even know at that point that they were qualified for any benefits, because my understanding with the sponsorship program is that my husband and I and my family here were going to be completely responsible for them for up to 2 years. And we were willing to do that. We knew that wouldn't happen because the people that we had spoken to, they all wanted to work. They all wanted to integrate. So they went very smoothly, but then it took 4 or 5 months to get work permits. And by that time, our second family arrived. And this is where we ran into trouble, because the rules had changed now, and they didn't automatically qualify for social security numbers, which meant they didn't automatically qualify for some of the benefits that they were unable to access. And so that's when Allison, I went on this website, Ukrainians in Virginia, I think. Is that right, Allison? Is that what it's called? Ukrainians in Virginia?
I think so. It was one of the Facebook groups.
Yeah, so on a Facebook page. And you had just put up a little sign that said, hey, we're here. And so I called, and we got there that week, and thank God, because they helped us fill out all the paperwork. They wrote a letter on our behalf so that we could get a driver's license for them, because at first we couldn't get a social security number and a driver's license. Let me tell you, the DMV in Virginia is not friendly to our Ukrainians or our Afghans anymore. You have to really meet specific criteria of entry in. You have to show that there's a reason you need a driver's license. So we had a hard time. In fact, the moms still haven't gotten her driver's license yet. So we're still working on that. So our families still live with us. And the good news is that as of this weekend, the family is moving to Richmond in an apartment. The dad finally got a job doing what he does at home, which is car wrapping and detailing and signs and advertisements that go on like windows and stuff. It's a vinyl kind of wrap. And they're going to move closer to his work, because we live out in Louisa. We're sort of in the country on a little farm. And my couple, the male got a CDL driver's license, and he's been driving now for about 6 weeks. And we finally got Irina a job doing what she does in a port at Virginia Beach, and she's thrilled. She starts on the 6th of March, I guess. So it seems like from June until now has taken forever. And I don't know, Nadiia, you sounded like you in your efforts to really tax into your abilities, you had to open up a nonprofit and start a business on your own. And not everybody is that fortunate. And English as a second language is very difficult for them to learn, no matter how dedicated they are. And I think confidence in that has led to some delays in getting things done. But all in all, we feel like we've been very successful. It has not always been easy, having 3 young children in the house, and we started them in Head Start program, which took about a month and a half to get them started on. They've come home with just about every illness there is. You know, I think they were protected by COVID by wearing masks for a long time. So that getting them to school has been a real challenge. You know, families living with families is never going to be easy, because there are differences in cultures, and we have really done an exceptional job, I think, trying to work together as teams. We have cooking nights. Everybody picks a night to cook, and they all cook what they're comfortable cooking. We all do shopping together for the families. They're starting to do more and more on their own as far as that goes. We were fortunate. We had an extra vehicle. We put a few $1,000s in to fix up, so we were able to get them a vehicle. But those are things, you know, transportation, housing, employment, driver's license. benefits, those are so key to get them tapped into. And my husband and I have learned an incredible amount. We have, and I'm just gonna, I want to speed this up because I don't know how much time we have. I don't think they want to.
You have plenty of time.
Oh, okay. Well, so through everything that we went through, I tried to encourage community members and friends of mine to also sponsor people. A lot of the sponsorship requests, and I still get them today, and I'm still helping many, have been for people who actually do have the assets. The family and the couple that came here didn't really have a lot of assets, so they really needed to start fresh. And but many do. And so I have connected with my nurse practitioner friends in the Army and my nurse practitioner friends from when I was in private practice. And we have a group together now. In total, there have been 39 Ukrainians who have been sponsored. Several of them have found homes. Others came and were living with other family members or friends. There are still several in the works. We actually sponsored 2 more people outside of our 7 that we have here, a grandmother and her granddaughter, and they're living in Texas now with another granddaughter that came over with her husband and family in a totally different family they're living with than us, but we sponsored those 2. And I get contacts every day just looking for sponsorship. And quite frankly, I don't know why more people don't do it. I understand that if you don't have a home to live in, for somebody to live in, and how difficult that may be, that it's hard to embrace that. But a lot of people, I don't know, Nadiia, I'm not sure when you came over, if you lived with a family or if you were able to get housing, but a lot of people have enough resources by selling their cars, or maybe they have bank accounts, can get here and get started and settle in that first 4 to 6 months it takes before they finally get a job and can really support themselves. But that's our mission right now, is just to sponsor as many Ukrainian families as we can. And
yeah. And I would agree here. You've addressed to me from my experience, and I would agree that the sponsorship is for us is sometimes it's more about helping to get the power here, to be
right.
able to lease, to be able to purchase car and so on. As I agree that some of us come with some resources, but you cannot spend it. For example, you can't lease because you don't have a credit story. You can't open the credit card because you don't have social security number, and so on and so forth. And it's like a circle of bureaucracy. And that's why the sponsorship is really important, not only to give the housing or some other help. It's more
right.
about standing strong together in front of these difficulties.
Right. I she hit on a really crucial point, is that you don't have a credit history, you don't have an employment history. It's very difficult to get that initial stand up on your feet and be able to purchase things and get credit, show people that you're willing to work. Both of my families, they worked on a probationary period for employees to see first if they could do what they said they could do. And even Irina, when she goes down to the port, she's on a 45-day probationary period just to make sure that her English is good enough for her to be able to translate the documents that she's going to be working for on a port, from what she's used to in Odessa to what she has to become able to conduct business here in Virginia. We actually became guarantors of our family on their apartment to help them. And the same with a bank account. I'm on a bank account with them, and I stay on that. They also were able now to recently get a credit card because they've been here now 6 months. So you're right. All those things that we take for granted, that we don't even think about, are things that our families are experiencing here for the first time. And, you know, our culture is very different from yours, Nadiia, and I'm sure you can speak to that. The healthcare is different. They're used to being able to just go when they're sick and not have to worry about, you know, paying for something or showing a document or things like that. Same is true for taking time off of work. They just take time off of work. They're not used to calling somebody and saying, look, I'm not able to come in today and understand that there's a risk to that their employer in our country, no fault. Now, they could be fired for not showing up for work or taking too much time away. They're not used to not getting paid for taking time off. And then the states are all different. We had difficulty getting one of the cars to come over from Ukraine because every state and title is different. And so there can be a lot of frustration. And for those of you that are volunteering, and for Allison and Katie, you know, key to this is patience. It's just patience, resilience, and perseverance. That's really what it boils down to. Them being resilient enough to accept that things are going to be different and that they're going to learn and understand and be able to perform. Patience, because things take time in America. It is a bureaucracy. It's huge compared to Ukraine. And every state is different. It's not just federal, it's also state rules, regulations. I mean, I'm just finding out now that the Head Start in Henrico County doesn't start the kids until they're 4, and they have to be 4 before September 30th. And now the boys aren't going to be going Head Start there because in Richmond County, they turned 4 before October 30th. So now they don't qualify for Head Start. So they were in school and now they won't be. I mean, even counties are different. And then perseverance is just not to let things get to them so that they just stand still. They've just got to persevere. Nadiia, you decided you were going to open. I'm grateful. I wrote this down. I hope I got it right because I'm going to hook my families up to this and anybody else that comes in Virginia. And then I think the last keyword Nadiia touched on was community. But they have to want to be involved in the community, and not all of them. Not everybody wants to, but I think the more communities there are and the more access they have to them, the better off they'll be, and they'll feel more inclusive. Nadiia, my family of 5 want to go back. This man had a business like you. He had his own business doing card and tailor wrapping and that. And so he's come here and now he's an employee, which is very hard for him to take. My couple, they're settling, they're staying in the United States. They want to be here. They recognize that there's not a whole lot for them to go back to, not even an apartment. So I think those are my key points, everybody. I think I've probably talked plenty. Maybe you all
Bridget,
have
I'm curious, if somebody's interested in trying to become a sponsor, what does that process look like and entail for them?
It's really just paperwork. The important things to do is I screen my families. I make sure they send their passport photos, driver's license, birth certificates to me because I want to make sure. I've had one contact that was not Ukrainian. They had out of country passports, trying to get me to sponsor them. But that's by far and away the
That's okay.
most uncommon.
That's
yeah.
okay.
But I asked the men if they are leaving military duty, if they are allowed to leave the country, because I tell them they will be vetted and they will be returned to the military, or they will be required to join the military if they do not have their required documentation that shows that they're like medically unfit or what have you. And then the paperwork, you go on to what is it, USCIS. Customs and Immigrations, and you look up the Uniting for Ukraine. You have to show that you can financially support them, which I don't think takes very much. They said something like, I think I read somewhere it's the same for all making more than $12,000 a year to support one refugee or one sponsorship for the parolee. And then you have to get their information too. You need their full names, their birth dates, if they've ever changed their names, their email addresses. So long before I start the sponsorship paper, I'm in contact with them frequently and I get all this lined up. And they give you a list of everything that you need. But once you do the document, it takes maybe 30 minutes to put it in. And then you wait, you get a notification that it's been received, and they get a notification that it's been received. And if you're approved as a sponsor, they'll get notification that says, okay, now this is what we need from you. And they ask them for their immunization status and additional records. Meanwhile, you've already uploaded most everything that they need on their end. and then it's just a wait. Once they get a travel voucher, then they have 3 months to travel to the United States, and therein a decision has to be made if they can financially afford to and how they're going to get here. And or if you as a sponsor are willing to bring them, either buy them tickets or somehow bring them. I had a friend of mine who's a military nurse practitioner. She actually flew into Germany on a Space A available military flight, drove up to Poland, picked the family up at the border of Poland after they finished their customs review there, which took, I guess, several hours, drove them back to Germany, stayed in Germany, waited a week, got their flight out, brought them to New York, got them through customs in New York, and then the baby and the mommy and her grandmother were then taken to Chicago, where they had a family for them. That's the extreme. I haven't done that. I haven't flown anywhere. I haven't offered to, but my families both lived in refugee camps and were actually out of Ukraine at the time that we brought them here. But there are still many, many that are in Ukraine. And all of the other people that we brought through, we've tried to bring them through either Poland or Germany. Germany has flights that are a lot less expensive, but they're still really expensive. They're like $1,000 a person.
Nadiia,
That's
oh,
it.
sorry.
Oh, go
I
ahead.
was just gonna ask if Nadiia, if you have anything else to add about like the sponsorship experience or anything like that.
Well, actually, I could share a little bit on my experience. Yes, I absolutely agree that there are different scenarios. And mine was, for example, my mother was my sponsor. We didn't met for many years, and she's been living in the United States. She's not really good at the paperwork. And for example, she just agreed to be my sponsor, but I've done all the filing story instead of her on behalf of her name. Yes, and well, sometimes one of the sponsors just I guess see the barrier in this paperwork, as you have to show lots of confidential information. You have to open it and so on to the but it was my experience, and I just helped to file up everything. And in my case, there were nobody who just suggested me the housing or the tickets and so on. So yes, these cases are completely different. And I know lots of stories when Ukrainians just crossed the Mexican border, and they also got the UHP status, but they did not have a sponsor here. That's also an extreme. And by the way, it's a really important issue we have to address as per now, as those who came in April, May through Mexico, they had only 1 year parole. And we still do not know what they will face within a month or two, as there is no regulation appeared still as per them, as per their situation. And I believe that one of the most important focuses of our community and of those who are helping Ukrainians now has to be that question. How do we know, or how do we influence this decision as per those who came a year ago through Mexico? And how do we lobby, or how do we act as per those who came with a 2-year parole? But it will also expire in a year and a half, and we have to give the perspective. I know that as from my experience, it's not about sponsorship, but it's about the care of those who came under our sponsorship or under our help. I know that in our community, half of us still believe that they will get back, and they are waiting for the war to stop and they'll be able to get back to Ukraine. And the other half is feeling that it's the better strategy for them to do everything in their power to stay and to follow their lives here in the United States, not to start it again in 2 years in their homeland. But it's really difficult to start from zero. Then you are adult enough and you have set up all the stories. So that I would add this focus for us, like sponsors, like refugee resettlement agencies, and like the community members, as I.
Thank you. Yeah, and just a heads up for all of you guys in attendance, Nadiia will also be speaking at the round table tomorrow afternoon. So if you want to hear more from her, you should definitely tune into that. But I think that's it for the formal part. If anybody has any questions, feel free to unmute yourself or drop them in the chat.
Nadiia, it's good to see you here. I don't know if you want to share a little bit about your event tonight at the Richmond Public Library to commemorate the war, the beginning of the war.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Kate. I will say a couple of words on that. Well, actually, it's a very important coincidence for me. A year ago, we woke up and every family had faced in Ukraine that the war started. It was exactly a year ago on February morning of February 24. And we have a very important charity evening today in Richmond. We arranged it and we invited lots of Ukrainians, a lot of our partners and American organizations, and just Americans who care. We will share, it will start in the main library of Richmond at 4:30 p.m. And the idea of it is just to show just to honor our warriors, to memorize those who gave their lives for ours. And we would like to share the stories of real Ukrainian families who are currently living in Richmond and what they did face, and how is what is their stories. And we'll also introduce a very important project for us. It will be a charity exhibition roadshow here in Richmond also. Actually, the idea is that we want to share our experience, our feelings, the truth, and we'd like to share the picture of war. It really is. So it will be a big exhibition of photos and objects of arts. And today we're starting just with the oral stories of those Ukrainians who are brave enough to speak on their stories and to present them to the community and to the public. So that's about this evening, and we'll also will introduce our organization. There, as not all the community knows, which are our ideas, how can we help, who are our partners, who already helps us and the Ukrainians, and so on. And also we will have a Ukrainian kids choir. They will sing the very important song for us, and it calls Ukraine is myself. It's just my translation. So it will be from one hand a very difficult event for us and very painful memories, but at the same time it will be about what's next, about the inspiration by the strength of our women, of the strength of our warriors, of the hopes of our kids. And we'll talk about what's next, what we are doing to build a bridge to freedom in Ukraine as soon as possible. So everybody are welcomed. It's absolutely open for the public.
And I dropped the link to the event in the chat, but it's at the main library and starts at 4:30 and goes till 7.
Is there any way to watch the event remotely if we're out of town and not in Richmond?
Well, unfortunately, there will not be a direct stream or translation of it, but we will make a video and we will share it at our Facebook page. And I know that currently a couple of my colleagues are giving interviews to the Richmond TV channels. So there will be a kind of follow-up story in mass media about that.
And I shared the Facebook page in the chat if you all would like to follow and like them and keep up with what Nadiia will be sharing there. But if I can add just one resource for everyone here, if you're sponsoring families or if you're just volunteering to support families in Richmond, our Director of Client Engagement, Helen Rye, facilitates support calls twice a month, Thursdays at 4 p.m. They're called United and Welcome. And they're just a way to bring people who are doing this work together in the same space to share resources and connect. So I can add Helen Rye's email in the chat if you would like to be added to those calls. Just let her know. They're called United and Welcome.
I was thinking that Bridget would make a really great member of that United and Welcome. It sounds like you have a lot of expertise around what sponsorship looks like. And as this is a sort of a new model of resettlement, we would welcome you and Nadiia and your group to participate.
Oh, I'd be happy to. Yeah. Anything I can do to help. It's been very rewarding. It's been extremely heartwarming to know what, and Nadiia, I can't even imagine what it's like to just lose everything and pick up and go and to a foreign country. But it's, it's got to be devastating. And to know that there are people here in the United States willing to care and help and give them a good start in life. We all came from immigrants here, except for our Native Americans. And when you share that compassion, it's an incredibly rewarding feeling. It's kind of selfish on my part. I think I get tons of hugs from the kids, and Zlata knows how to speak English to me now, and we talk very well together. And she just turned 2 on the 31st of December. So there's a lot of rewards too that I just didn't get a chance to say. But
well, I guess that closes it out for us. Thank you guys so much for being here. Bridget, do you want to drop your contact info in the chat? Somebody just asked to be able to contact you. But yeah, if you have any further questions, feel free to reach out to us. I'll drop my email and contact information in the chat as well. And then if Nadiia wants to as well. But thanks again, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. It was my pleasure to join you.
Nadiia, Allison, Bridget, this was just so amazing. Thank you all for your time and your energy and your willingness to share so much of the amazing work that you're doing with all of us.